Hello everyone and welcome to the Chrissy B Show. Now life can be very overwhelming at times, especially if you're depressed. For some, the only option they can see is to take their own life. So today we'll be talking about why suicide is not the best option, and I'll be giving you 9 reasons not to kill yourself if you're feeling that way. My guests today are Gloria Barker, whose husband took his own life, and she'll be telling us how this affected her and the family and how she's come to terms with her loss. And also we have psychologist Christian Penna. He'll be dispelling some myths surrounding suicide and giving expert advice. And I'll also be talking to Stephen Hebgood, chairman of trustees for Papyrus, a charity dedicated to preventing suicide amongst young people. And we will also be talking to us about his own experience of losing his only child to suicide. So it's a very serious topic, but one that definitely needs to be addressed, because I'm sure this program is going to help you tonight if you're feeling this way or if you're a family member who has lost someone to suicide. So first, let's go to Gloria Barker and her story. Hello, Gloria.
Hello, Chrissy.
Hello.
Nice to meet you.
You too, sweetheart. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about this, because as I said, it is a difficult one.
Absolutely.
But we do need to talk about it to help those that are being affected by it.
Absolutely.
Okay, so tell us your experience. So how long were you married for?
I was only actually married to Robert for about 8 years.
8 years, okay.
He was my second husband.
Mm-hmm.
And we did have problems, various problems. And he committed suicide 15 years ago. He did have an alcohol problem, which impacted a lot on our relationship.
Did he have that when the two of you first met, or was this something that happened afterwards?
He was very clever at hiding the problem.
Okay.
It was not. I knew he enjoyed to have a drink, but I wasn't
You didn't
aware
realise the extent.
Right.
Right.
And then he had a terrible event in his life. His daughter was murdered by her boyfriend.
Oh, that's terrible.
And it sort of sent him over the edge a bit more. He had a rather depressive nature,
right,
and lack of confidence.
You'd seen this before this happened with his daughter?
This was, yeah.
Right.
And then after this with his daughter, some of his behaviour became quite irrational. He was supposed to go and see his other son and daughter. We were living in Ireland, and they were in England. And he disappeared off the face of the earth for 3 days. We'd bought his ticket. His daughter was worried sick because it was the time of the Paddington rail crash.
Oh, yeah.
And she didn't know, his, younger daughter, and they didn't know what had happened to him. And he turned up a few days later home, sort of. He'd booked into a hotel and drank himself into a stupor and not gone at all.
Had he ever asked for help from anyone with all these problems?
He wouldn't ask for help. And this became a really big problem. The funeral, he did go to the funeral. He went to England and his sister supported him, and the funeral was very difficult because it was a time when he had to come to terms with his ex-wife and other family, and it was difficult for him.
So you just saw him getting worse and worse after that?
So we moved to an island called Inishbofin, which is about 7 miles off the coast of Galway. There was only one bar in the hotel, which opened late in the evening. So it was I thought, well, this is good because it's going to restrict the availability of getting the alcohol. But then he'd hop on the boat and go over to the mainland, and anyway, I said, look, his depression, he was getting depressed. He was drinking, I said, well, you really, really need to see the doctor. Make an appointment with the doctor on the mainland and go and get some help, please. And I remember quite distinctly the doctor saying, well, I'll give you a course of temazepam and that should help, which...
So it was just medication he was offered, nothing?
No counselling.
No counselling, nothing.
And so he was then drinking and taking temazepam as well.
No, that's terrible.
And he really became to dislike me because I was nagging him, because I was not sort of happy about the whole situation, that he wouldn't ask for counselling.
Well, you cared, you were trying to help him.
I was trying.
What
anyhow.
Could you do?
It got really nasty.
Yeah.
We were on this little island, and it was it's a beautiful island, and we had a little dog. And one morning in June, 16th of June 2000, I said, Robert, I'm going to take Shadow for a walk on the beach. It's beautiful. Are you coming? And he seemed much brighter that morning. And he said, no, do you know, my back's aching a bit. I think I'll just stay and watch TV. You go. I said, well, I'll be about an hour. I won't be long. Yeah. And I came back, and I just had a feeling something was wrong. The back door was still open as I'd left it. I walked in. I saw a note propped up on the table, and it just said, goodbye, friends and family, I can't take any more. And I rushed into the bedroom, and he was laying on his back on the bed. He was quite good with electrics. He knew what he was doing. He had wired his wrists up with cables and plugged it into the mains and switched it on and given himself a massive heart attack. And so that is how it happened. And from then on, I went through, in about 5 minutes, I went through 3 steps. First, with absolute calm. What can I do about this situation? Is he really gone? What can I do? The electricity's gone. And I got a chair and I went in the hall and I unscrewed the main fuse and threw it on the floor. And I went back into the bedroom and picked up a glass of water, and I threw the water in his face, and then I lost it, and I think I was probably in hysterics after that. The calm had gone. And
it was the shock of it all, of course, wasn't it? Yeah.
And I went to my neighbour, who was about 200 yards away, and her son came out, and I'm saying, you know, told her what was happening. I was on the phone to my son, who lived in Southern Ireland, and my daughter-in-law, and I was garbling. I wasn't making a lot of sense. And
you never had it ever crossed your mind that he might do something like that one day, or was it like was that a shock as well? The fact that, because obviously it's shocking to find him, but the fact that he actually went through with something like that.
He actually went through with it, because he'd sometimes said, I don't know whether it's worth going on sometimes, you know, it's not, you know, life's not all that, is it? You know, it's not, you know, not so great. And then I'd sort of cheer him up, you know, or try and cheer him up and watch TV or we'd go for a walk, or and he'd be okay. And then he'd sort of
drift back into it,
sink back into this depression. And I then felt quite guilty, because I thought if I had phoned the doctor, if I had phoned and said my husband needs counselling and taken the initiative, whether it would have made a difference, I don't know, but I should have tried.
But you
and
did,
I
sweetheart.
didn't do it.
You did, in trying to help him and telling him to, because to be honest, you know what, sometimes when we try to sort of do things on someone's behalf, if they don't want to do it, we can't force them.
That's right.
That's the thing. So, you know, I know the guilt always does come, but we just don't know.
Guilt.
We just don't know. But Gloria, we're going to go to a quick break, sweetheart, and then afterwards we're also going to be joined by psychologist Christian Penna, and he's going to be also obviously commenting on what you've said and maybe looking out for signs and symptoms and also giving us some advice as well, so don't go away.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to today's programme, and it's titled Suicide, 9 Reasons Not to Kill Yourself. And before I continue, I'd like to give a special shout out, if I can call it that, to a group that I actually belong to on Facebook. And I won't say the name of the group because it is private, but the abbreviation is SAG, and this is a group of people that basically are feeling suicidal, and they've had family members that have taken their own lives. And I know you guys are feeling really down in the dumps, and you know, you feel like life isn't worth living. But this is one of the reasons why I'm doing this show today, for you guys that feel this way, and also any family members that are going through something like this. So I just wanted to say a special hello to you, and please do keep watching because this program is going to help you. Now, before we go to Christian Penna, who's our psychologist for today, we're going to take a look at my visit to a bridge where many people have not seen a way of their desperation and resorted to taking their own lives. I'm at the Clifton Suspension Bridge, and this place has been nicknamed the Suicide Bridge because every year quite a number of people are going through so many problems and really think that there's no way out of their situation, that they can't talk to anyone, that their problems are just unsolvable. They feel so low, so depressed that they basically jump off this bridge into the road below or the river and end their life. And a lot of people come here for the view because it's a fantastic view, whether, you know, it's during the day or during the night. It's wonderful to see. So you can see how some people will come for the view and they see things like in a positive way, and others like miss everything, seem to miss everything. They're so homed in on their situation, they're so homed in on their problem, they can't think of anything else, and all they can think about is the negative stuff. And I can understand in a way, if you are, I mean, coming from a depression background, I know how desperate a person can feel and panicked a person can feel. And when I was never suicidal because I was actually afraid of death, so suicide for me wasn't an option, but I can understand the desperation that people feel and how terrifying it is when you feel that no one understands you and that you're by yourself. But I also know the thing that upsetting me now is that I know that people can get over their problems, and I just get upset thinking that there's people that don't get that far. And they just end it all when I know there's a solution to any problem that a person has, and it's just such a waste. Guys, there's always a way out. So now I'm going to be speaking to Christian Penna, who's a psychologist. Hello, Christian. Thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me here as well.
It's brilliant to have you. So you heard Gloria's story. She's very brave to come on and talk about this. What did you think about some of the things that she mentioned there?
Well, I think of course, it's a very tragic story, and I think I just have to say that you are tremendously brave to be able to share this as a way of trying to help people as well. And I think we can see in the story that there are some of the elements that unfortunately we can see in people who are suicidal. First of all, the fact that it's a man, and men sometimes some men have difficulties expressing their distress, and they are not able to admit that they are not coping, and it is seen as a sign of weakness, and the stereotypes that are out there in society are not very helpful. And of course substance abuse, alcohol, and mental health problems as well. So it's when you have all those ingredients, then hopelessness and despair is usually what drives people.
Now, it's very important what you're saying, Christian, there, because this is an issue with a lot of men. Even for them to go to the doctor sometimes, it's such a fight to get them to even to go to the doctor. So, but we have to let people know that there's no shame in asking for help, that everyone needs a helping hand every now and then. And it's not a weakness. It's just that we'll go through things sometimes, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's quite the opposite, I would say. I would say that it is a strength as a man to be able to admit that you are not coping and to reach out for help. And that's how it should be.
Now, Gloria mentioned something before the break about this guilt that she was feeling. You must come across that quite a lot in your line of work, where family members of those left, the ones left behind, they do feel that way. Is that something quite common?
It is, unfortunately, and there is a term that we call complex grief, and it is a sort of grief mixed with guilt and anger sometimes at the same time as you are grieving the loss of a loved one. And as the name says, it's a very complex experience, and loads of questions about what could I have done differently, and why did this happen, how could I not see the signs. And unfortunately some people are so severely depressed that they are quite good at hiding the signs. Some people seek out, and they may actually tell others as a way of seeking help, but others don't.
What are some of maybe the other signs that someone would be considering something like this, considering suicide?
I think there are many. I think changes in behavior, noticing that someone perhaps is a bit withdrawn, even sleeping patterns, that they are sleeping less or they are sleeping more, giving away their belongings. I think I would become very suspicious and worried if someone was suddenly giving away things that they had. Those are some of the signs, and alcohol misuse as well, substance misuse.
But if you do notice that, Christian, should you be quite direct and say, look, why are you giving your things away? Are you feeling suicidal? Should you be that direct with the person, or is it better to sort of just get them to talk?
I think the best is actually to sit down your loved one and have an honest, non-judgmental discussion with them, and tell them that you are worried about them, that you care for them, and that you want to find out what's hurting them. I think it's really important that when you do that you shift the focus a bit from the sources of pain to the resources of treatment. And to remind your loved ones that what you are experiencing is treatable, and usually is transient as well. Although you can feel low and depressed for a long time, suicidal ideation tends to be temporary. But at the time when you are having it, of course, it's unbearable. It's a pain that you feel that only suicide will almost set you free.
Take away,
That's why getting help is crucial, and I'm really gutted to hear that in your case you tried to contact the GP and you were only offered medication, which is of course...
Right.
It's terrible.
That's right.
Now, Gloria, obviously you went through this terrible time,
That's right.
but it's not all doom, is it? Because you
No.
did manage, because there are, for example, family members, friends of people that have taken their lives, that their life stops as well, and some of them even take their own lives because they feel so bad. But you obviously went on, and you would call yourself quite a positive person today. Can you tell us how you've done that?
For a start, I had tremendous help from family. My son, my daughter-in-law, and my son were fantastic. They were also living on the mainland in Ireland at the time. And the minute he heard my son jumped in his car, drove 300 miles, got the captain of the local boat to wait to get him to the island so he could support me.
Okay.
And the local hotel manager put us up in the hotel for 2 nights because there were matters that had to be taken care of. So I did have family support there. But after the initial necessities, we will say, had all taken place, as you say, life has to go on. And I stayed with my son and daughter-in-law and grandchildren for a few weeks. And I thought, now I'm going to get a job.
Okay. Were you working
before? I went
before?
to work. I hadn't worked for a while.
Okay, so this was something quite different.
I'm going to get a job. So I went to work. I went to work as a shop assistant. I went to work just as a temporary shop assistant. And within a couple of years, I was managing a retail department.
Wow. That's great.
Then my family had decided to move back to England. And most of my other family are in England, although one or two are other parts of the world as well. And I came back to England. I think I remember the drive back was quite humorous because I packed everything into a little Opel Corsa with a dog and 2 cats and drove from Ireland over on the ferry and through Wales to Eastbourne.
Oh, blimey.
And, you know, with these 2 cats howling the whole way. But then again, it was getting a job.
Yeah.
Finding myself home. And life goes on. And I talk to people, and anybody I come across that seems to be really depressed, I would say there's always somebody worse off. There's, you know, there's always a bright side to everything.
Definitely.
We have everything. We have the sun. We have the moon. We've got a whole world here. So let's live it.
Gloria,
don't give up.
You have been absolutely amazing. We've run out of time, unfortunately. We need to go to a break. But thank you so much for sharing your story, being brave, and also definitely what you just said hits the nail on the head. Definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you.
It was lovely to meet you.
You too, sweetie.
Nice to meet you too.
Christian, I'm going to keep you on because I'd like you to stay on for the next part with me,
Sure.
just to talk a bit more. And then do join us after this, because after the break I'll also have on Stephen Hebgood from Papyrus, a charity devoted to preventing suicide amongst young people.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to today's program, where we are speaking about suicide, and I'll also be covering later on 9 reasons not to kill yourself if you are feeling that low. Now, before we go to our guest Stephen Hebgood, let's take a look at this powerful video of members of the public stopping people from killing themselves.
Ma'am, are you okay?
It didn't seem real because of what was going on around. You know, the traffic was going as normal, you know, pedestrians going by as normal.
Ma'am, are you okay?
She was distraught. She was distant. She was really disconnected. I grabbed her and I grabbed the arm and I put my arm around her and I said, do you want to come on this side of the guardrail? And that was actually the first time she actually spoke to me. She said, yes, it was meant to be. I was supposed to be there for her at that moment, and I was. I wanted to convey that, you know, whatever it was, we're going to help you through whatever it is. And it's not as serious as jumping onto the 198. I felt like I did what I was supposed to do at the time. I'm a football guy, so, you know, when you sit on the bench and the coach calls your number, you got to go in there and make a play, and you got to do what the play calls for, and I think that's what I did.
That's really amazing stuff. You know what, sometimes we might not actually ever see someone attempting suicide or trying to jump off a cliff or a bridge, but if we just look around and just be more observant of people and how they're feeling and if they're looking a bit low, and even just going and having a quick talk with them or just giving them a hug or something like that could really help them and even prevent them from doing something like that. But now it's time to go to Stephen Hebgood, and he's actually helping young people who are feeling suicidal through his organisation Papyrus. I hope I've pronounced that correctly. Hello, Stephen.
Oh, you have, yes. Thank you for inviting us on. Thank you.
It's brilliant to have you on. Now that the organisation you run is called, is it Papyrus? Am I pronouncing it correctly?
Yeah, it's Papyrus Prevention of Young Suicide is the full title.
Okay. And you've had your own experience with this, haven't you, Stephen? Can you tell us about that?
I lost my own son, Christopher, to suicide in 2009. And that's what brought me in to become involved with Papyrus, which was a charity founded by parents like myself who had lost their children to suicide and wanted to do something to prevent others from going through that awful experience.
Okay. Now we have been discussing this on the program, the whole program today, about what to do if you are going through something like this and how family members can help. Did you also go through a period of feeling very guilty?
Oh, I think that's absolutely right. I think what Christian says is true, is you go through that, it's a complex kind of grief you go through with a myriad of feelings. And I talk to lots of parents who've lost their children, and they do have that great sense of guilt.
Yeah.
That they could have and should have done something more, and they could have detected that their child was suffering and struggling in that way, and they feel a great sense of guilt that they didn't.
And how did you get past that? and be able to also help other parents?
Okay, well, I think I've been a prison governor for 30 years, and so I was actually trained as an investigator for deaths in custody. So it was a real blow to me when my son took his life, and I was off work for a long time, and I was very distressed myself.
Yeah,
I think it was off for 5 months, and I think I would say to people that I didn't stop crying for 5 months. Incredibly distressing sort of time. But I felt at the end of when I sort of at the end of that period that I wanted to do something. I didn't want to sort of sit around with others, and and as people found that very useful to sit with others and explore how they're feeling, I wanted to do something more practical to help young people.
Yes, yeah. So what does your organisation actually do in practice?
Okay. We do a range of things. We first of all, we provide a helpline which is staffed by mental health professionals. And that helpline is there for young people and those concerned about a young person.
Yeah.
So it's parents or teachers or anyone who's concerned about a young person to call. Our calls rate is very high at the moment. It's gone through the roof recently, which I suppose on the one hand is good. We do training in schools, colleges and universities. We do suicide talk. We talk trying to raise awareness and also to reduce the stigma around suicide.
Yes.
We do suicide talk. We also campaign on a number of fronts. We campaign to the responsible media reporting of suicide. We campaign to have something done about the internet sites which encourage people to suicide.
Of course, yeah, it's a good one.
And we also we're trying to change the law, the way in which coroners reach a suicide verdict, because they use the criminal standard of beyond reasonable doubt, which we think is unnecessary and unhelpful.
So it's quite a lot of things that you're doing then. One organisation, you're involved in many things, which is great.
Well, we try to as well as trying to provide support to those who are struggling, we're also there for those who are struggling with someone. And we also want to sort of try and, we are a prevention organisation, so we want to do what we can to prevent suicide. So we want young people to become more aware of their own mental health and well-being.
Yeah.
And we want young people to talk more about how they feel.
Okay. Stephen, thank you so much for speaking to us. I'm so sorry for your loss, but I think it's wonderful what you are doing today to help other young people and also the families, because it does affect everyone, doesn't it?
Yes, it does, yes.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Okay, so Christian, coming back to you. So we've got a couple of minutes left.
Sure.
The time flies again. So maybe we could address the family members as well that maybe are dealing with someone that has admitted to feeling suicidal. What's the best way to help them, apart from obviously trying to get them counselling and stuff like that, but in the house, how do you suggest they be dealt with?
I think partly is what I was saying before, to just genuinely have a conversation with them, trying to find out what's going on. On a more practical level, I think it's really important to contact the GP, or if it is an emergency, to go to A&E. I think it's really crucial to remember that in every A&E department there is always a psychiatrist on call who would be able to attend to anyone 24 hours a day, anyone who is experiencing problems. And I guess that it's also about, I know that I'm maybe repeating myself, but it's about remembering that everything constantly changes. If we can be sure about one thing in life, is that everything is constantly changing, and the way you feel that unbearable pain, that feeling trapped, that you can overcome it.
Yes, definitely.
And I think both Gloria and this man, that Stephen, I think both of them show that sometimes actually by overcoming these things you grow as well as a human being.
Yeah, you do, definitely.
Which is
now, Christian, is there anything, for example, that's the advice on what you can do. Is there something maybe that's a no-no that we shouldn't say to family members that are feeling that way? Is there something that would make them feel worse, do you think? Or
yes, there are plenty of things like chin up, or get over it, or you are being a drama queen. Anything that is very judgmental, to say to someone who is truly feeling at the lowest of the low, can be quite detrimental, and it may make them not want to open up and share.
Definitely.
So
Thank you so much, Christian. It's
Thank
been
you.
wonderful having you on. Thank you for your great advice. And I'm sure we're going to have you back on again very soon for the show, because I've loved having you
I
on.
would love to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, guys, so don't go away. We do have one more part, and that's where I will be talking about 9 reasons not to kill yourself if you are feeling suicidal. So please don't go away.
Don't forget to subscribe to the Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life. You can find us on YouTube, Facebook and Twitter.
Welcome back to today's program, where we are speaking about suicide, and now I'm going to be giving you 9 reasons not to take your own life if you are feeling suicidal. So the first one is suicide is final. So once it's done, there's no going back. And the very fact that you are watching this show and you've watched through the whole thing, and we've almost finished now, the fact that you haven't switched off proves that you have doubts about it. So you really do owe it to yourself to stay alive and to fight against these problems that you're going through. And number 2, often people who feel suicidal today don't feel suicidal tomorrow. So just because you feel something right now, it doesn't mean that you should act on it. So as Christian was saying earlier, these feelings often are just temporary. There's, for example, people, youngsters that kill themselves because they're being bullied. But let's face it, when we're sort of older, and I was bullied when I was at school, but when we're older, when we look back at those kind of things, it's like, oh, you know, those things were so silly, how I was feeling was so dramatic. But if you act on what you're feeling right now, it's a big mistake, because you may not feel this way even tomorrow. So hang in there and get the help that you need first. Number 3, if you feel suicidal at the moment, it's because you are actually carrying more than you actually know how to handle, but there's always a way out. And the only way that you're going to find that way out is if you're still alive. So again, you owe it to yourself to keep going. And number 4, people that take their own life, it's because they want to feel better. But if you're looking to feel better, this will not come by killing yourself. You can only feel better if you're actually alive, right? So, and anyway, you don't know for sure that killing yourself will be better than staying alive. So isn't it better to keep on fighting to get the solution that you need? I think so. And number 5, if you're feeling suicidal, you may be feeling like you're alone. Now, this is a feeling that many people do go through, that they think that, you know, nobody cares, that nobody understands, that maybe no one feels as bad as they do. But you're not alone. There are so many people, and it's not to diminish what you're feeling or to belittle what you're feeling, but there are so many people that are going through the same thing or have been through the same thing, and they're alive today. They managed to get through their problems, and you can do it too. And I understand you, even if you say, you know, no one understands me, family and friends don't understand me, but I do. And if you want to talk to me, you can contact me. I'll give the contact details towards the end of the program. And, you know, suicide is just, the feeling that comes is a very strong, irrational feeling. And it doesn't make sense. Many times it doesn't make sense, because it tells you, the thoughts tell you that there's no way out. The thoughts tell you that things are just going to get worse, that there's no point in going on. As Gloria was saying, the things that her husband was saying, there's no point in going on. There's no light at the end of the tunnel, but there is. You just got to hang in there and get the help that you need. Number 6, another reason why you shouldn't kill yourself is because you are the one that controls your future. You have that right. So if you end it all, you end your future. And if you end your life, you lose that control over your future. So remember, it's a right that you've been given. You have this life to live. We only get one shot at life here on earth. So make the most of it. Number 7, and I think this one is a very good reason, one of the really good reasons as well, is think about other people. So at the moment you feel really miserable, and, you know, like, I could even say at the moment it's all about you, what you're feeling, the emotions that you have, the problems that you're going through. But there are other people that are going through exactly the same as you. So if not for yourself, why don't you think about those other people that are going through it? And if for example, you fight and you overcome this problem that you're going through, if you find happiness, imagine the amount of people that you can help through your story. Imagine that. So don't just think about yourself in all of this. Think about other people. You better than anyone can relate to them. You can relate to them. You understand exactly what they're going through. So imagine if you get that help, if you get over this problem that you're going through, if you get over these emotions and these feelings that you're going through, imagine how many people that are feeling suicidal right now you can help. So you could be saving lives. That's how powerful it is. Sometimes the people that go through the worst problems are the best in dealing with other people, make the best counselors, make the best psychologists, make the best everything, make the best friends, because they know what it's like to go through problems. So if not for yourself, do it for the others as well. Number 8, also, what about those who care about you? What's this going to do? If you go through this, what's this going to do to your family and friends? And sometimes people say, oh, you know what, my family are better off without me. My friends are better off without me. I'm just a waste of space. But do you know what? It affects your family so much. And they go through, like as we heard earlier, they go through all those feelings of guilt. They go through all those feelings of loss, of pain. And, you know, it's better, no matter how bad you say you are, or how much, you know, maybe you feel like you affect them negatively, it's not anywhere near as bad as if you were to take your own life and they were living life without you. Trust me, they do care about you. And even in the unlikely event that you say I really don't have any friends, I really don't have any family that cares about me, like I said, I care about you. That's why I'm doing this show. And I'm here for you. So please, you know, even if you feel like you don't have anyone, you've got me and you can contact me. And number 9, the 9th and final reason that I'm going to give today for you not to kill yourself is because you don't want to die. You do not want to die. Now, you may be looking at me and thinking, Chrissy, who the hell do you think you are telling me I don't want to die? You don't know me. You don't know my problems. But let me tell you something. Human beings have a natural instinct to survive. Right? It's a natural instinct in us to survive. Even animals have that instinct in them. So it's not that you want to die. The fact is, it's just that you don't want to carry on living with the kind of life you have at the moment. Because if your life were different, you would want to carry on living. There's a big difference. So you don't want to die. If anything else from this program that you take today, don't forget these words. You do not want to die. You just want to stop feeling the way you've been feeling. And friends, let me tell you, there is a way out, okay? I have spoken to so many people. I have friends, close friends that felt suicidal. And I know someone that even attempted, actually my own mother-in-law attempted suicide and had to have her stomach pumped and everything. So I know people close to me that feel exactly what you're feeling right now. But today they're alive. They got the help that they needed. They're living their life to the full. They're happy and they're helping others. And the same can happen for you as well. Okay? Now, you know that I have to end the program now, but if you do want to speak to me, you can visit my personal website, which is mylifeafterdepression.com. And there's a form there that you can fill in and you can send me a form and I can get in contact with you. And as we said, there are plenty of organizations and people that can help you. So I do hope this program's helped you and that you will reconsider if you have been feeling suicidal. And let me tell you, I love you very much and I want to see you living your life to the full. I'll see you again next time. Bye-bye for now.